it's been a really long time and people have been asking me for an update on Disulfiram, which I am going to do today. I am finished Disulfiram, so I'm going to be sharing with you my conclusion about the experience and my conclusion about the drug for Lyme disease specifically. I'm so sorry that I haven't posted in so long. I have just been focusing on my healing and what I'm doing at the moment, my quantum healing treatment. So I have spoken about it just a little bit in my previous videos, and I do plan on sharing about it in my upcoming videos. But right now I'm just focusing on healing and making sure that everything goes smoothly and not pressuring myself to do anything at all, because I do believe that that's key for everyone and for all of us. I believe that that's one of the keys to healing, is just not putting pressure on yourself, especially if you're perfectionistic like I am. I haven't been fully gone though. I have been working on something really exciting for you guys though, which I will also share at the end of the video, and I really hope you like it because I'm so excited about it. Then also for people who prefer to read instead of watch videos, I know that sometimes videos are overstimulating for some people, so I have also put a blog post on this exact video. So if you prefer to read, I'm going to link the blog post down below, and then for those who prefer to listen, they can obviously just watch the video or listen to the video. And then just a little disclaimer, this feedback from me is obviously just my personal experience, and it's obviously different for absolutely everyone. So I can only give you my account from my personal experience on Disulfiram and what I experienced myself. But if you go onto the Disulfiram groups on Facebook, you'll see a whole lot of different experiences. Obviously, everyone is different. Everyone reacts differently to different treatments. But this is just my personal experience and my conclusion. And then my conclusion at the end of this video will also address something that I feel about Lyme disease treatments in general, and why a lot of people go through so many treatments and find that it doesn't really work for them. So I just want to address something at the end of the video in my conclusion about what I've learned so far on my journey of trying so many treatments and then not getting fully better. Some treatments have been great, but I'm still not fully better. So yeah, and that's very common. It's not an uncommon thing, and I think that it's something that people can learn from and also be encouraged by if they're on treatment and they're not seeing the results that they want to see in terms of being symptom free, because that's the goal. Okay, so I started my treatment on the 3rd of August 2019, so that was over a year ago, and I finished it actually about 5 months ago. So I think I finished it in like May, maybe like May, June, and I finished it while I was in Cape Town. So I started on a dose of 200 milligrams every 3rd day, and I know that's actually quite a high dose. And then eventually I moved it to every 2nd day. But I'll explain step by step what I experienced in the beginning so that you can get an idea for a summary of how it went for me in general and what I think in general about the experience on Disulfiram. Something important to mention is that I did also take breaks during my treatment. So although I was on treatment for quite a long time, I did take breaks, and I'll explain why I did that as well. So after my very first dose of Disulfiram, I took it at nighttime, and I wanted to sleep through the side effects if there were going to be any. I was actually very terrified. I know a lot of you guys are also terrified to start, and you contact me and ask me, you know, what to expect and things like that, and I completely understand because I felt exactly the same way, and there weren't a lot of people on Disulfiram at the time, so I was really scared. So I took it at nighttime. I didn't feel anything major. I woke up with a bit of a swollen throat, and I also woke up with some heart palpitations, like maybe 2 hours after the dose. And then I was able to sleep afterwards. It was fine. And then after the second dose, which was 3 days later, I did start to feel fatigue setting in. And that's when I started to feel, you know, the heavy fatigue that everyone talks about on Disulfiram. But it's not the same type of fatigue as Lyme disease fatigue or CFS fatigue. It's more of like a sleepy type of fatigue. So I actually kind of somewhat enjoyed it because I was able to sleep. So it helped my insomnia. And yeah, so I was able to sleep long nights, but the fatigue was very persistent. So you do get fatigue. It's not the tired but wired type of fatigue where you're like kind of going crazy and you feel like you're going to die from fatigue. But you do feel very fatigued, you know, and if you're working, this is something to take note of because it will affect your work performance. Well, if you react like I did, it will affect your work performance because you're very out of it. You're very sedated, let's put it that way. You feel sedated. Then eventually the fatigue actually started to fade and I hit almost like a sweet spot where, and I think this was maybe after 2 weeks. Remember, I was taking a dose every 3 days. So that's after a few doses. I'm really not good at maths, but after a few doses, the fatigue started to fade and I started to hit a sweet spot where my palpitations were a lot better. I was breathing a lot better. And as time went on, I realized that Disulfiram was dissolving my mucus. It was dissolving the mucus like in my lungs and in my sinuses. And that was helping me breathe a lot better. And I was feeling more energetic, more clear-minded. A lot of people talk about feeling clear-minded. And every single time I would restart Disulfiram, the same sweet spot would come at some point. And I think that that's when you get really excited and you're like, oh my God, this is it. It's working and it's gonna lead to no symptoms. So that is something that's really exciting about Disulfiram, feeling that. But eventually, as it built up in my system, I started to feel the side effects coming along. And it's hard to tell if it's a Herxheimer reaction or if it's a Disulfiram side effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare my antibiotic treatment to my Disulfiram treatment to sort of compare Herxheimer symptoms and side effects from Disulfiram or from antibiotics. So firstly, I just want to say that the Disulfiram treatment was so much easier. I can't stress that enough. It was like so much easier than antibiotics. Antibiotics, I was in the ER like every other day. It was absolute hell. I have done a video on that before. I'll link it below in case you want to see about my antibiotic experience. It's not the same for everyone, but for me, it was absolutely terrible. It was like hellish, proper. But although Disulfiram was also quite challenging, just like any other treatment, I did have different reactions and different symptoms. So basically, when Disulfiram would build up in my system, I would get almost like a feeling like someone punched me in my chest or in between my shoulder blades. I have spoken to other patients who have experienced that before. It feels like almost like a bruising, aching, like a bone pain, you know, in the middle of your chest. And when you move around, it feels like unstable and uncomfortable. So I had that, and I would get a headache as well. And then I would start to get fatigued as well. This is when it's like built up in my system and the sweet spot has passed. And then something really scary is I used to get like these highs where my thoughts would race and I would feel like on a rush and I would want to do so much and write so much and talk so much. And sometimes even I would be like driving in the car with Ross and I would be looking in the mirror and like dancing to music and like just on a high. That's not normal for me. And then the next day I would be in a completely dark, terrifying, depressive place. So I think that was from the dopamine increase in the brain, which can actually bring on bipolar type of symptoms. And it was terrifying. It was horrible. I've never experienced something like that before. So it was very, very scary, actually. And you can't help it. It's just like these dark thoughts just creep in and everything seems unhappy. You know, you can't find joy in anything. And then I also had paranoia, and I would start to smell like sulfur. And I think that was also, especially when I was taking NAC as a supplement, I started to like really smell like sulfur, and I would get tight muscles like in my back muscle, almost like spasms, and then in my neck, and it would like feel like my neck is swollen, and it would kind of affect my breathing as well. So it was really, really unpleasant. And what I did was I would stop for a while just to let my body process the medication, and then when the symptoms like faded or disappeared, at least some of them, then I would restart again and feel it out that way. So that's the reason why I kept taking breaks and stopping and starting. And a lot of people have said to me, oh, you just got to push through. But very honestly, I wouldn't have been able to push through those symptoms. And I am pretty strong. I consider myself pretty strong. Now, in comparison to antibiotics, I had completely different symptoms on antibiotics. On antibiotics, I would get like almost like temperatures. I would get overheated, and I would get extremely high heart rate, and I would have extremely bad breathing issues, and I would get panic attacks and extreme anxiety, extreme paranoia, insomnia. What else did I get on antibiotics? I would feel like I was like floating off my bed. I would get like low blood sugar episodes. It was basically, it's very hard to think about it because it's anxiety inducing even still to this day. I have trauma from my antibiotic episodes. I was completely bedbound when I was on antibiotics, and I would black out if I stood up. So I would have to crawl to the bathroom. My vision was completely blurred. I could barely walk. I didn't want to eat. It was just really, really, really bad. So I would say that most of what I experienced on disulfiram was side effects of the medication. And I do think that there was a bit of Herxheimer in there. I think that, letting off the sulfur smell and sweating, that was obviously, the sulfur was a side effect. But I think that I was also sweating out a lot of toxins and a lot of gunk from the pathogens. Okay, and then after the breaks on disulfiram, when I started up again, the same cycle would pretty much repeat. I would get a little bit of symptoms at first, and then I would hit a sweet spot, and then it would all pile up after maybe like a month and a half, and then I would have to stop again. So I never was able to reach a really, really high dose. The highest dose that I was able to reach was 200 milligrams every day, which I guess is quite a high dose because I don't weigh that much, like below 50s. And that was really, really tough for me. That's when I had my worst reaction of the racing thoughts and the paranoia and all of that. So I knew that I couldn't handle that. So eventually what I did was I took, in an enteric capsule, I took a dose of only 50 milligrams, and I would maintain that. I think every second day I would maintain that, and that lasted for about like 3 or 3.5 months. But something that I did want to mention is every time that I came off disulfiram for a break, I struggled. Like my symptoms came back so strong. I would get such strong heart palpitations coming back. My mucus would come back, so I couldn't breathe properly, and I would just really, really struggle. And so when I came off it for good, I did it with the help of my healer, and he made sure that I wasn't experiencing the withdrawal symptoms of the drug, because I did feel like it was affecting my brain. I did feel like it was not in really such a scary way, but I just felt things changing. I just felt things changing my brain. Sometimes it's hard to explain what exactly you're feeling, but you just know, especially if you've been sick for so long, you have very strong intuition with your body when things don't feel right. So that's what it felt for me in my brain anyway. So my healer helped me to come off of the drug, and that was so smooth sailing. It was amazing. It helped with my rebound insomnia as well that I used to experience when trying to come off it. I didn't have palpitations coming off it or fast heart rate, and everything was very smooth coming off it. So I would recommend to either work with your doctor, or even better, in my opinion, your quantum healer or energy healer when you are coming off of the drug, because that's also important. And sometimes you feel like you can't be off it, you know, you feel like you rely on that drug now and it's your only, there's no way out. And the truth of the matter is there's always a way. We can often feel like there's no way out and now we're stuck and we've done damage, and then we start to panic. And I mean, I speak for myself, but I'm sure a lot of people can relate. And there is always a way. Just wanted you guys to know that. So now for the big question, and that is disulfiram all it's hyped up to be? And I'm going to be very, very straight shooting with this answer, with everything that I've learned now. Looking back in hindsight, I absolutely do not regret going on disulfiram. At the time that I discovered disulfiram, I did not have any other tools. I was pretty much running out of hope, and it really helped to stabilize me and keep me stable. It really helped to address some issues, and I do feel like I made an improvement on disulfiram. I have to say that. I do feel like I made an improvement on disulfiram. But I want to say, whenever something comes out that's like a new breakthrough drug for Lyme disease, obviously we're all going to get extremely excited, especially if the research is so promising and there's so many claims. We are going to hold on to that hope, and we're going to feel like this is going to be it. This is going to finally be our cure. But I wanted to share with you that from what I've learned is that it's never going to be a chemical that you're going to put into your body that's naturally going to just cure you. That's not going to happen, because there's so much more going on with people who are chronically ill and who have been ill for years and years and years and haven't found a way out of it, especially people who have tried treatment. Like I have hypothermia in Germany at Clinic St. George, and really tried all the advanced treatments and still haven't quite gotten to that place where they can say that they are not chronically ill anymore. And that's because there's so much more to it, you know. There's a spiritual component, there's a subconscious component, there's a trauma component. You know, a lot of us have been through a lot of trauma. A lot of us are empathic, we're empaths, and we take on energy. So a lot of it is very energetic, and I'll get into that in my future videos. I do also post on Instagram free sessions with my healer. He does live free sessions every second week, which are absolutely incredible. You can join just to see what it's all about. This is not like sponsored or anything. I'm literally just a client. I found him on Facebook and I just recommend it so much because this learning journey has been indescribable and I'm really truly grateful for it. Also, it's important to note that my first tick bite was when I was around 2 years old. So it's been really a long time that I've been ill for. So I'm obviously more of a complex case. I have seen some people on the disulfiram groups who have found themselves symptom-free after taking disulfiram. I don't know how legitimate it is in terms of the long term. You know, I don't know if maybe when the drug wears out of their body, if they're going to experience symptoms again. I would personally hope not, but I would say that my gut tells me that it would continue to be a bit of a problem if they haven't addressed traumas that might be also responsible for why they are ill. But obviously, as I said, everyone is different. For some people, it might actually literally just be the tick bite, you know, that got them to a place where they didn't want to, and they weren't ill for that long, and then they go on disulfiram and it helps them, and that's fantastic and that's great. So I can't say whether I recommend it to you. I can only speak about my experience, and if I were me back then without any other devices that I have now, I would still 100% go on the disulfiram. It's worth it, I would say, because the side effects are less than the gains. You gain more than what you experience negatively, I mean. However, I now have far more effective tools that I'm using. So I actually don't even take any supplements anymore. I don't take any medication. I don't take any supplements anymore, and I'm improving more than ever. So now, given my circumstances, I wouldn't go on Disulfiram because I have better tools, but I know that Disulfiram is a cost-effective option, and it is a relatively good option, and that's obviously just in my opinion. So in conclusion, as always, I recommend finding a reputable healer that can muscle test and see what is best for you at the right time for you. That's what I always recommend. I know that people have differing opinions on muscle testing, but I personally have found it, I can very confidently say this, very confidently, I've personally found it the most helpful tool in my healing, and finding a healer that uses this method has been life-changing, literally. So that is what I always recommend personally. If you don't feel comfortable with that, or you have a different opinion, that's absolutely fine. I always say do whatever you think is best for you. That's the best that we can do. Just research as much as possible and do the best for you. And I put my information out there as just a small part of your research and the information that you gather. And obviously I encourage everyone to look deeper into everything and make the best choices for themselves. And now for the surprise. It's something that I'm really, really excited about. I enjoy being creative so much, and especially when I'm healing, I enjoy doing something that's creative and productive. So I have created something that I feel will make a difference to others, because during my healing, I always wanted something like this. And one of my activities that I really enjoyed during healing was shopping online, because you can just literally do it from your bed and it gets delivered to your door, and you get to try on clothes and you can send them back if you want to. Like, just made me really happy. So I was always looking for clothes that lifted my spirit and kept me comfortable at the same time. So clothes with colors that are really calming. I don't know if you have the same thing, but if I'm wearing clothing that's a color like orange or something that I don't find calming, I feel like it sucks my energy. So I wanted to create something with like really calming colors and colors that will uplift you and make you happy. So I use pastels and the colors of the rainbow and ice cream colors. And with this, I created something that's really comfortable, that at the same time gives everyone in the chronic illness community a voice and a chance to express themselves. So all of the things that you guys have been saying on Instagram, all of the things that we always want people to know, I have put graphics and writing on clothing items, and they are now available online for all of you, and it's worldwide shipping. So it's really exciting, and all of the profits from any green item that you buy will go towards Lyme disease research and chronic fatigue syndrome research. And I actually wanted to use this to help individual cases to receive the treatment that everyone deserves. But I'm not sure if obviously I'd be able to raise enough to help individual cases, because obviously treatment is really expensive. But that is eventually my goal, because it's my passion to be able to help people receive treatment who can't afford it, because I think it's just so wrong. And I've also made free shipping for all customers in the USA until the end of the year, because I know 2020 has been a really difficult year for everyone. I wish I could make it for everyone, but the site that I'm using can only ship for free in the USA. So if you use the code FREESHIP, you can get free shipping in the USA.
I saw a light when you passed me by. The reason why I shine, you're
like to be notified about when I post new videos, subscribe down below with the red button. Just click it and subscribe. And then there's also like a little gray bell. I don't know if this does anything, but apparently if you push it and you turn notifications on, that's when you actually get notified. I don't know how that all works, but apparently that's what you gotta do. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm so excited to be back and to be engaging with you guys again, and I can't wait to see what you have to say in the comments below, and can't wait to connect with you guys again. See you next time. Bye.